Selection of stocks and stocking practices. Good day, everyone. I'm Ransenzel Isaac A. Soltorio, and today we'll discuss the key factors to consider when choosing fish for aquaculture. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to first, discuss the different factors to consider in selecting fish to culture. Second, determine the different methods of stocking fish and perform proper stocking. And last, generate formulas for determining the stocking rate of a specific pond, pen, or cage area. Let's begin with the factors to consider when selecting fish for aquaculture. The first one is growth performance. Second is reproductive habits. The third one is egg and larva requirements. Fourth, nutritional needs and feeding habits. Next is polyculture possibilities. The sixth one is adaptability to crowding, disease resistant, and lastly, market demand. First is growth performance. High growth rate. Selecting fish with a high growth rate ensures faster turnover and higher productivity. This helps farmers meet market demand more efficiently. Next is grown to marketable size in a short time. Fish that reach marketable size quickly reduce production costs and increases profit margins. Shorter grow-out periods also minimize exposure to diseases. And lastly, under growth performance, fish should reach marketable size before first maturation. Early maturation can shift energy from growth to reproduction, slowing weight gain. Choosing species that mature later optimizes growth and yield. And the next factor to consider when selecting fish for aquaculture is reproductive habits. So you need to consider a fish that has the ability to reproduce easily, especially in confinement, is a primary requirement. This makes it easier to breed fish in tanks or ponds. For a successful culture, a stable supply of seed or young must be available. Without enough young fish, the farm can keep running. Next, the reproductive process of a species must be understood, and genetic selection and improvement must be possible. This helps farmers choose the best fish for breeding. The next one is reproduction should produce large quantities and occur frequently, meaning high spawning frequency and fecundity. More eggs mean more fish to grow and sell. Next is eggs and larvae need to be large, hardy, and easy to culture. Strong eggs and larvae should survive better and grow faster. The third factor to consider when selecting fish for aquaculture is the fish egg and larva requirements. So after reproductive ability, the next factor to consider when selecting an aquatic species to culture is nutritional needs and feeding habits. This ensures the young fish get the right food to grow healthy. Next is for feeding habits. A species can be selected low on the food chain or high on the food chain. Choosing wisely can make feeding easier and cheaper. An aquaculture species low on the food chain consumes low-cost feed or low. This helps cut down on expenses and boost profits. The next factor to consider is the nutritional needs and feeding habits. So aquatic animals, like terrestrial animals, require protein, carbohydrates, fats, and vitamins and minerals. Unlike terrestrial animals, some of the nutritional needs are met directly from the aquatic environment. Research on the optimal amounts and forms for each species continues. The scientists are still figuring out the best diet for different fish. The next one is the more completely nutritional needs are understood, the more efficiently other aquatic animals can be produced. And the next one is ability to accept artificial diet. So it's easier to farm fish that can eat pellet or processed feeds. The next factor is polyculture possibilities. Selecting polyculture as a criterion for determining which species to produce depends on the type of production system. For intensive culture system, such as trout or catfish production, growth rate could be more concerned with the efficiency in use of water and space nutrients. Polyculture increases the total aquatic production in a volume of water by using species that occupy different dimensions of the water and feed on different feedstuffs. The next factor is adaptability to crowding. Aquaculture requires species that are used to crowding. Fish that handle being close together are easier to farm. Crowding increases productivity of a space while increasing management for space. More fish in one area means more profit, or take note, also more care. Aquatic species selected for culture exhibit adaptability to withstand the crowding. The best fish can stay healthy even in tight spaces. Another factor to take note is disease resistance. So we all know that species vary wildly in their ability to resist disease. Some fish get sick easily, while others stay healthy longer. Aquaculturists select species for disease resistance based on the conditions at their production site. So farmers choose species that can handle local water and environmental conditions. The last factor to consider when selecting fish for aquaculture is the market demand. So production of an aqua crop can be successful and efficient, but without a market, production efforts are wasted. So growing fish is great, but it's pointless if no one wants to buy them. So it's not just about growing fish, it's about selling them too. So a market for a product consists of, first is desire for consumers. So people need to actually want fish. Next, price consumers can afford. The price has to be right for buyers. The next one, prepared, easy to use forms of the product. So, ready to cook fish sell better than whole, unprocessed ones. Next, storage to reach consumers. Good storage keeps fish fresh until it hits the shelves. And lastly, desired flavor. If it tastes good, people will come back for more. Now, let's proceed to stocking practices. So, first is stocking rate. There are two interpretations of stocking rate. The first one is stocking rate in terms of number of fish per unit area or volume of water. For example, 5 fishes per meter squared, or 50,000 fishes per hectare, or 23 fishes cubic meter cage, or 5,000 fishes or per 200 cubic meter cage. The next interpretation is that stocking rate in terms of weight per unit area or volume of water. For example, 0.4 kilograms per meter squared, or 4,000 kilograms per hectares, or 90 kilograms per cubic meters cage, or 420 kilograms per 6 cubic meter cage. Stocking rate is based on the following. The first one is level of production. Second, types of food. Third, pond unit, in the case of pond. And the fourth one is kinds of fish. Fifth and last is culture system. For example, pond or cage or pen. So now let's proceed to the next slide. So here you can see table 1, which is a stocking rate in a different culture system and methods. So first is based on production level in your pond. So under this, there is an extensive, modified extensive, semi-intensive with supplemental feeding, and intensive with complete feeding. The next table is stocking rate per meter squared of bangus is differentiated with stocking rate per meter squared of sugpo based on pond units with lab as foods. So an example of pond units under this is the nursery pond, the transition pond, and the rearing pond. The next table is based on culture system. So there is differentiation happening with different fishes here. These are the bangus, sugpo, siganid, and the grouper. So they are differentiated based on culture system. So different culture system are the fish cage, fish pen, and fish pond. The next slide tackles about computation involving fish stocking. So, the first computation involving fish stocking is finding for total number of stocks. So the formula used is area times stocking rate per unit area. For example, If the standard rate of stocking is 20,000 per hectares, how many fish will be needed to stock in a 50 meters times 80 meters pond? So, there are three ways on how to solve this problem. So the first option is first, determine the area if such is not given or it is unknown. Second, solve for the number of stocks using the formula above, which is 50 meters times 80 meters equals 4,000 meters squared. So the final answer is 8,000 fish. The next option is first, determine the area if such is unknown. Then second, convert the stocking rate per hectares to stocking rate per meter squared. And finally, solve for the number of stocks needed. So the last and third option is you can use the ratio and proportion formula. So the formula is given bigger area is divided by given number of stocks is equals to given smaller area under X or unknown stocks. So same with the other options, you can get 8,000 fish. So the next computation involving fish stocking is finding for principal or total number of stocks, percentage survival or mortality of stocks, and survival rate or mortality rate of stocks. So first is principal or total number of stocks. So here is an example. So according to the problem states that your 4-hectare grow-out or rearing ponds require 188,000 bangus fingerlings for the whole year round of culture operation, say 4 times in a year. If these above figures represent 70% of total purchase, how many bangus fry then are you going to purchase to include allowance for 30% mortality to be incurred in the NP and TP before they could be raised in the said rearing ponds? So here's the formula. When finding the principal or total number of stocks, you can use percentage survival of stocks over survival rate of stocks divided by 100. So according to this, there are 128,000 bangus fingerlings fish, and the survival rate of these said fishes are 70%. You need to divide that by 100, so you will get 0.70, then divide it, and then the 128 fingerlings is divided by with 0.70. Then the result is 182,857 bangus fry. So next is finding the percentage survival of stocks. So what is the percentage survival number of stocks if only 72% has been accounted for out of total purchase of 182,857 bangus fry after they have been reared in the nursing ponds and transition ponds? So the formula used is when finding percentage survival of stocks, you need to multiply principal or total number of stocks with survival rate of stocks over 100. So the principal or total number of stocks is 182,857 fry, and then the survival rate of stocks is again 70%. Divide it by with 100, and then multiply it with the principal or total number of stocks, which is 182,857 fry. So the answer is 128,000 bangus fingerlings. The next one is finding the survival rate of stocks or mortality rate of stocks. So the problem stated here is what is the survival rate of stocks if only 128,000 has been accounted for from the original of 182,857 bangus fry purchased after having them raised in the nursing ponds and transition ponds. So the formula used when finding the survival rate of stocks is percentage survival of stocks divided by principal or total number of stocks multiplied by 100. So the answer is 70%. So first is you need to divide the 128,000 bangus fingerlings over 182,857 6,857 bonus fry, and then the answer is 0.7, and then times 100, therefore the answer is 70%. So therefore the survival rate of stocks is 70%. So next is finding for the total number of stocks in the three relative percent survival and the protective or the protective percent survival compartments of a modular pond system. So here is an example. In a modular pond system of 1:2:4 ratio of relative percent survival or the protective percent survival, the total stocking density for relative percent survival or the protective percent survival shall be based from the relative percent survival 3 or the protective percent survival 3, the pond with the largest compartment. If the stocking rate in the relative percent survival 3 or the protective percent survival 3 having an area of 4 hectares is 3,000 fish per hectare, how many fish should be stocked in relative percent survival 1 or the protective percent survival 1 with an area of 1 hectare? So the formula used is number of stocks is equals to area times stocking rate of fish per unit area in hectares. So the solution is, since the area is 4 hectares of relative percent survival 3 or protective percent survival 3, you need to multiply it with 3,000 fish per hectare. So the result is 12,000 fish will be stocked in relative percent survival 3 or the protective percent survival 3. So note that the RPS1 or the PPS1 and the RPS2 or the PPS2 will be stocked with the same 12,000 fish each as in the RPS3 or the PPS3 because the fish are still in their fingering stage. Take note that the fish are transferred from one compartment to the other as they grow. So next, let's proceed with the stocking techniques. The first one is refreshing the pond with tidal water a day before stocking. Then, stock the fish during colder part of the day in the early morning or in the evening. And then let's proceed with acclimatization. So first is transfer the fry to white plastic or porcelain basin upon arrival. Then, remove the unwanted species, followed by take the salinity and temperature readings of the transport water and the pond water. Then, adjust the difference in salinity by increasing not more than 5 ppt per hour, then provide aeration in the counting basin, then count or calculate the fry before stocking, or when stocking directly into the culture pond, is to be made without pouring fish seeds in the white basin anymore for clearing of unwanted species. Then, the plastic bags are allowed to float in the pond until the water temperature stabilizes in about 10 minutes or so. Then, pour small amount of water inside each bag to adjust salinity, and finally, release fry in the different parts of the pond. Once again, I'm Ransanzo Isaac from Group 2, and that's all. Thank you.